Greetings, lovers of lore. Thank you for joining me for another Streets of New Capenna side story. This one focuses on the origins of Kit Canto. Now, if you're not familiar with the character, she starts out as a Leonin singer down in the subways, right? In the gritty, dirty subways, basically just singing for pigeons. But all that was to change one day when a giant Leonin in rich clothing happened to stop in front of her while she was giving one of these performances to the pigeons. She couldn't tell whether he was enjoying the music because he wasn't really showing any kind of outward reaction, but he did stop in front of her. So even though her nerves were jangling, she belted out at the top of her lungs. And at this point, the rich Leonin reaches into his pocket, pulls out a business card, which was very disappointing for Kit because she thought she was finally going to be handed a little bit of cash for her efforts here, and instead she's just getting a little cardboard rectangle. And at the time the cat man hands it over, he says, "Little sister, you look like you just need a chance." So Kit, being smart, hides her displeasure over the situation, takes the card, looks down at it, and instantly has a complete change of attitude because on the card, in golden letters, it says Jetmir, the leader of the Cabaretti crime family. And he's acting really friendly, but Kit isn't foolish, right? She knows that it is ultimately an act and that Jetmir is very dangerous. But this is still a great opportunity for her because he's literally offering her a warm-up slot at the Red Room. So you can play at one of my clubs. All you have to do is do me a little favor. And Kit goes, yeah, okay, I'll definitely agree to this, whatever it is, essentially, right? And Jetmir hands over a bag of Halo to her. Now, this is illicit Halo she's not supposed to have, right? So he also gives her a nice, expensive gown that she can wear for her debut. But what Kit does, because she's clever, is she actually takes all of the Halo that's inside the bag and she secrets it inside of her coat because she's had to do different things to get by in this city. She has secret pockets that are sewn inside of her jacket. So that's actually where she stores all the Halo, and the only thing that's left in the bag is the expensive gown that Jetmir gifted her. And at this point, it's literally the most expensive thing she owns. So she's given the instructions that she has to drop this bag off at the Herculanum candy shop, specifically meeting an individual by the name of Henzi. And she is given a ticking clock in this story. She has to be on stage by 7 o'clock, and if she's not there, she loses her spot. And you have to understand how competitive the world of Capenna is. This could literally be Kit's only shot to not spend her entire life in squalor. So this is a massively big deal to her. To give you an idea of how poor her situation is, the other thing that Jetmir provides her is a train ticket. Now, this train ticket is only a third-class ticket, but it's still above what she can afford. Basically, regular everyday citizens who can afford to travel third class. Second class is reserved for people who are aligned with the actual crime families. And first class is for the individuals at the upper echelons of those families, the most powerful and rich individuals. But for Kit, just being on the third class train is a huge step up. She's pleased, she's singing to herself, rehearsing what sort of song she's planning to perform when she goes up on stage, and basically just living in the future of how great things are going to be, right? She's looking forward to being finally dolled up in front of a crowd and getting to perform for them. She hates her home. She comes from the Chaldea, the dirty industrial depths, right? It's ashy and sooty and dark. And she is a beautiful flower who is supposed to be out in the sunshine where everybody can see her. So if she can join the Cabaretti and make this work, she'll be set for life. She might get to move up into riding the second class trades and then over time make her way up into those first class trains, living the highest of high lives, right? So this is her just kind of letting her imagination run away with her, which is great, right? She's living it up until all of a sudden the train she's riding abruptly stops. Now, there's no announcement, there's no mechanics coming out to check out what's going on, but there are a bunch of angry, restless people on the train. People are banging on the door, right? And Kit's starting to freak out because remember, gotta be there by 7, gotta do the drop and get to this place by 7. So she's starting to freak and worry about her time. And she's like, okay, you know what am I gonna do? Essentially decides, I'm just going to hop out a window. So heads over to window, tries to pop it open. As she's doing so, there is a massive explosion. And this causes panic to erupt in the train, obviously. People are freaking out, right? What do we do? Running all over the place. And then there's a bigger explosion. And this causes a stampede inside the train away from the direction of the explosion. Now, Kit, being a slender Leonin lady, there's nothing she can do against this tide of people that are crashing into her. So essentially, she's forced along down to the end of the train, which turns out to actually be really lucky, because the other end of the train essentially ends up getting torn off, and a giant lizard lady, a Viashino that is aligned with the riveteers, comes into the train. And these guys have a fun way of talking. They refer to the people on the train as eggs. They call them fine eggs and say, if you fine eggs don't want to get broken, you'll listen to us. And essentially they're like, look, we've been given orders. We've dismantled the rails on either side of the train. And by dismantling, they literally mean they blew it up. So the train is stuck here and they're saying, look, somebody here has something that belongs to us. You know who you are. Come on out and make this easier on yourself. Now, Kit's sitting there going, okay, I don't know who they're looking for, but this has nothing to do with me. So she's just leaning back and chilling until, unfortunately, the Viashino says, whoever here is working with Henzi needs to come forth. And that's when Kit starts to kind of shrink down in her chair a bit, trying to keep a low profile even more, right? Because she knows if these guys get her, like, at the very least, they're going to take the halo from her. And if they don't, like, just do that, they're going to end her life. And even if she loses the halo and survives, this is going to be a big problem for her. Now, luck is somewhat on her side because she's not the only Leonin lady on the train. And the Viashino, they know specifically that the halo was given to a Leonin lady. So, because there's a number of different maids that are coming home from work and whatever else, Kit has a little bit of maneuvering room and some time to think. So she starts to think, should I confess? Should I let them know? And it's like, you know what? I can't trust these guys not to end me. And if I lose the halo, Jetmir's going to be angry. That's the end of my opportunity to rise up and become what I've always wanted to be. And Kit has such high determination to become this like singer that she is more willing to lose her life than she is to lose her chance at her career. Now, at this point, there's a vampire on the train who leans and is like, hey, you're a Leonin lady. And Kit's like, what are you doing? Shoves him away, starts trying to like slam into people, and it causes this big commotion. And during this commotion, Kit is able to slide over to a window and leap through it, right? As she does so, the riveteers behind her is like, that's her, she's getting away. They know she is. When she leaps out, she looks and she can see there's a bunch of riveteers and they are literally dismantling the train. They are just tearing it apart bit by bit. The Viashino are also chasing Kit out of the train now, so she is running out of options. So what she does is she climbs up onto a nearby roof, and surprisingly, for a big, bulky, muscly Viashino, they are also very nimble. So they're actually able to keep up with her, right? So it's just kind of this chase across the rooftops. They end up cornering her. She leaps off the roof, lands like a cat, and runs off. But these Viashino are wily individuals. So they manage to corner her yet again. And at this point, she does something they weren't expecting at all. She takes the bag, which to the riveters is full of the halo, and this is what they're looking for, and she throws it off the side of the building, and then runs to the other side of the building and leaps off in the other direction. So the riveteers are left trying to decide what they want more, the bag or Kit, and they ultimately decide to go after the bag. So Kit is able to escape, but after all of this, she only has 1 hour left. We're talking 1 hour to make the drop, meet Henzi, get to the club, and perform. And she's lost her gown as well. So she's got to try and avoid the riveteers. She makes her way to the candy shop. Behind the counter, there's a demon with a busted nose and a glass eye who turns out to be Hensie. Sees Kit, knows who she is, and goes, "Lost the bag, eh, kitten?" And that's when Kit smiles and starts to pull every bottle of Halo safe and sound. Boom, 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 boom. Stacks them up on the counter with a big smug grin. Hensie's got a genuinely impressed look on his face. "Well done, Kit." And Kit, basically at that point, is given the ticket from Hensie. And Hensie goes, "Hey, where's your dress?" Kit's got no time to even explain it. Just runs off, right? Now, at this point, she's trying to make it through the city, right? She's trying to avoid the Viashino. But there are Viashinos specifically at the train station. Now, they're not Viashino that have seen her already, so she's got somewhat of an ability to slide by, but at the same time, they're checking out everybody who's heading into the train station. Now, as I said previously, she had spent a bunch of time performing for the Pigeons in a number of locations and actually had created some kind of connection with the Pigeons, or at least it appears that way. Because in the story, it talks about these pigeons and their nesting areas and how some of them might have angel feathers infused into their nests, and the pigeons know the secret aspects of New Capenna and somehow have a little bit of angelic essence in some of them and maybe have a higher level of consciousness than is really thought of by most people. And for most of the story, that doesn't really seem to play out that much. However, at this point in the story, completely unexpectedly, at least to Kit, and I assume the Viashino as well, as she's preparing to try and get into the train station, a whole squad of pigeons just start flying around in the area, creating a big commotion and distracting the Viashino. Almost like they're straight up assisting Kit, which I thought was kind of fun. The idea of her singing to pigeons, trying to live her dream, and ultimately forging a bond with the pigeons, because it says multiple times in the story that they genuinely do enjoy her singing and move with the song and everything, right? So that is a fun little bit of flavor connected up with the pigeons. So she makes it to the club, right? But we're talking like last minute. She's got 6 minutes before showtime. The lady who brings her in is giving her snooty looks, doesn't think she has what it takes and isn't going to make it because Kit's roughed up, right? She's all bruised up and looking tough, and her clothing's got some tears in it and whatever, all this kind of thing. So she gets taken to her luxurious dressing room, right? And she's looking at herself in the mirror, and she looks so ragged, and she decides, you know what? I'm going to make the best of this. So she starts to smear the dirt around and stuff like that, essentially attempting to turn what is real world dirt into what would look like performance dirt, like what you would expect to see like a street urchin look like if you went to see a play or something like that, right? So she has this appearance, she heads out onto the stage, and she starts to belt out her songs. It turns out in the audience of this club are the angry Viashino, including the Viashino who was on the train, who was making the announcements and specifically noted Kit. So they know who she is, and they're angrily staring at her. Now, they can't mess with the cabaret club show, right? They're only going to be able to get Kit after the show. But she can see them out there, right? And she knows basically that if she can't get herself into the cabaret, she's doomed, because as soon as she leaves the club, the riveteers are going to end her. So she abruptly abandons the last song of her 4-song set and goes with a song that she made up on the spot. It's a big gamble because it makes the situation worse with the riveteers. Essentially, the song is about boilers, and boilers is a forbidden term when it comes to the riveteers. Essentially, it is an insult specifically used for the riveteers. So she sings a song called Bye Bye Boiler, right? And it's just enraging the Viashino more and more, basically guaranteeing she will get absolutely no mercy if this doesn't go well for her. But she nails it with the performance. The audience loves it. And as she's feeling like she's just about to have to walk off the stage and she's doomed, Jetmir actually comes out off the side stage. The head of the entire cabaret family takes the mic and basically says, Kit Kitano, folks, we're going to have her here again tomorrow night with a bigger set and better gear. So at that point, she is brought into the cabaret. She is given finery, she is paid, and turned into a proper lounge singer as we see her in the current era in the story. So it is a fun little side story. I hope you enjoyed it, my friends. Thanks for coming by. If you enjoy what's going on here, consider supporting us on Patreon. We just, Patreon, I should say, just added a new low-level tier for anybody who wants to hop on board. So, thanks everybody for coming by. Remember, my friends, lore is life.